China's new hypergravity machine can produce 1,900 times Earth's gravity. All right. And it's a centrifuge type thing. So it's not like actually changing gravity on Earth, but it is changing, let's say, when you put something inside the device itself, that there's, the gravitational signature from a centrifuge can become actually real within that centrifuge. And if you put a person in there and certainly crank it up high enough, you could kill them with the blackouts, the redouts, as Lou Elizondo was saying recently on the, that hearing. Like the G-forces are akin to, flying a plane and worse, flying a space shuttle and all these things, right? Going faster than humans can even fathom. But the weird part about this is, and I'll get to it in a sec here, but I'll just read from the article. It's probably best to do it directly because, sometimes I'll butcher it just rambling on. But here we go. So China has taken a monumental leap in scientific research by activating the world's most advanced hypergravity machine. The Centrifugal Hypergravity and Interdisciplinary Experiment Facility. That's a mouthful. So we'll just abbreviate it to CHIEF. You got it, Chief? Okay, Chief. CHIEF is a groundbreaking system located in Hangzhou, Zhejiang province, and I'm saying this incorrectly, pardon my Chinese, it's terrible, which will house the largest hypergravity centrifuge ever built. Okay. And I was like, all right, that's kind of cool, right? So when fully operational, CHIEF will be capable of producing forces thousands of times stronger than Earth's gravity. China says this will completely revolutionize research and the science of extreme conditions, which is completely correct. I mean, that's amazing. We're going to be able to test things in gravity spaces, at least simulate gravity in that sense and be able to test things against it. And like I said, engineering purposes and whatnot, this is good. This is a very good thing. So hypergravity, in this sense, is a gravitational force stronger than Earth's, as we've been talking about, typically referred to as 1G. Okay, this force plays a vital role in simulating and studying extreme environments. For instance, astronauts experience hypergravity forces of around 4G, and this is straight from the article, when re-entering Earth's atmosphere. And hypergravity machines like CHIEF will help study the effects of those forces on the human body even more. And of course, do probably damage, which is unfortunate, but this is how science is done, right? And I'm not advocating for hurting people to do science. I'm saying that the bad people in the world will do this, is my point. Anyway, so however, CHIEF's hypergravity conditions will far exceed this, creating unprecedented conditions for research. With a planned capacity of 1,900 gravity acceleration multiplied by tons, or GT, it will outclass existing facilities, including the U.S. Army Corps. Sorry about that. A Corps. That's something Joe deals with in Florida. The Corps, U.S. Army Corps' hypergravity machine with its 1,200 GT capacity. So okay. Now I was thinking about this, and clearly there's still a lot regarding gravity that we don't understand as people. One, it is sort of the basis for the time, space, and that whole thing, like I was talking about the black hole and the planet and the density and all these things. And we've even talked about this in the past a little bit, which will kind of come into play again tonight. Sort of those ancient monoliths, or let's say the Great Pyramid, have been known to change, as we've seen recently. These massive structures have, and I'll explain what the recently is, but these massive structures have actually been able to change the way the Earth rotates, okay? Because they built that massive dam in China, and they were saying it was actually changing ever so slightly the gravitational pull of the Earth, and how it was actually spinning. So not enough for us to notice, but it was measurable when they created that massive dam in China. So it makes me wonder about the type of actual gravitational aspect of the Great Pyramids and these massive monoliths of the ancient ways, and what they may have done to consciousness. And we have talked a whole lot about that in past shows, so I won't kind of go into that too deeply right now, but keep that in the back of your mind as we go into this, because the question for tonight is this: if we can simulate this hypergravity and be able to test it against not just, let's say, engineering principles and kind of press that envelope further and learn more things about the universe and all the good stuff, also, what might this do to human consciousness? Recently, we've also talked about the chamber, where you get in the chamber and you're what is it, the blackout chamber? I don't know what, it's not on my mind tonight, but yeah, anyway, so it's the what is the thing called, anyway, it'll come to me in a sec, but you get into the sensory deprivation. I was about to say it backwards, the sensory deprivation tank, but on steroids. Because imagine if you're put into some sort of centrifuge and protected from the gravitational forces to some degree, but you could press the limit of what a human feels regarding that, but not kill you, then suddenly maybe we're doing weird stuff to consciousness. Yes, thank you, sensory deprivation. That's what I was looking for. Anyway, so keep the idea of the pyramids in the back of your mind as part of this, because I'm telling you there might be something to this gravity warping of consciousness itself. And I've got a case to make here regarding this tonight. And with that said, also, by the way, there is absolutely no truth to be found here, okay, except for the articles and stuff. But many times that's propaganda too, because this is out of China and the CCP, obviously. So anyway, no truth to be found here. If you're here for truth, you're in the wrong place. Go to a political stream and they'll tell you the truth because they know all the truth. It's bizarre how they all know all the truth all the time. But I don't. So I defer all the truth. I'm just talking ideas here and kind of squinting the mind's eye to see what comes next, and maybe peer around corners, peer over the horizon, as Derek the Night Stalker says, and what this might look like. So hang tight. We're going to get back to this in a moment. But it gets weird, right? I think when you think about how actual gravity affects humanity and consciousness itself, I think there might be something to this that, well, you decide, I guess, as usual, right? I'm not going to, I'll make a flimsy case, but it's definitely not the truth. But anyway, we started with this, again, China's new hypergravity machine, all right? It can, again, just out of the gate, 1900 times Earth's gravity, they're calling it. And I'm calling this, of course, it's not, as their term, the actual scientific term, hypergravity. I'm calling this heavy time because you see my implication here. But other articles on this are pretty cool too. All these will be linked in the description if you guys are interested in the ideas. But this is pretty cool. You can mimic natural events, sort of cosmological events. So maybe you could stress test like a craft to go into an alien world, that has like a very heavy gravitational signature. Like these are the types of amazing advances that could be made from this technology, which is fantastic because this is the stuff we need. But also, like I said, it kind of brings about the idea of human consciousness and what the gravity signature of our planet or on another planet, sort of a more dense or more loose gravity might have on consciousness itself. If you're one of those types that believes there's alien consciousness out there. But let's say you don't. You're like, no, Mike, there's no aliens. That's cool, because we do what's called philosophical constructs. It is the mark of an educated mind to consider a thought without accepting it. So if you're like, no, Mike, no aliens. Cool. So let's teleport a human to another planet, an exoplanet that has a different gravitational signature, or even here in the solar system, Jupiter or something that has a massive gravitational signature, and think about that way. And would that affect our consciousness in other ways beyond just the obvious physical effects that we understand currently from physics itself? So anyway, I was going through this and I was like, all right, so what does this look like and how weird does this get? Because not only are they doing this thing to compress time. So this other headline's a little bit better, but it says China turns on hypergravity machine to compress time and space. And that's the one that got me. I was like, hey, now we're cooking with gas, compressed time and space. What the hell does that look like? Now, so it's unclear, of course, how much information we're going to get out of this, because it is, as I said, unfortunately from China. They're inventing this thing and deploying it this year. But also, the CCP heavily censors everything. We've talked about this in the past. And, as you know me, like I criticize China. I've criticized China quite often in the past. And I still do, just because of their censorship regime and the way they treat people. That, the human rights abuses and those things. But so don't get me wrong, I'm not crapping on Chinese people. That's not my way. I'm just saying that the CCP is brutal when it comes to censorship and whatnot. And so in this case, what do we really know? We don't really know. And what will we know as this science kind of comes out? Maybe nothing. But they're going to know some stuff. But anyway, so the cool thing about this is I was looking into is it possible there's sort of a convergence here in the space of where they're building it? And it is being built in the Hangzhou province. And wouldn't you know it, I was kind of digging a little bit, like I said, and there's a Wikipedia article here that doesn't have too much because, again, it's UFO sightings in China. However, there's a connection here. All right, with this place they're building this actual thing. And wouldn't you know it's a UFO connection. Okay. And so I was like, wait a minute now. So if you go to 1994, they got the Meng Zhao Guo, pardon my Chinese, incident refers to a supposed close encounter of the third kind experienced by a man of the same name, which purportedly took place in Phoenix Mountain in Wuchang. Oh boy, I'm not going to read the rest of that. Somewhere in China. In 1994, he reported that he and a relative, okay, blah, blah. That's not the one. Okay, but they only have two listed on here because again, heavily censored information coming out of China. But here's the thing. Of the two that Wikipedia reports as part of this, guess where the other one took place? And it is the latest one. So the first was 1994. The other one is 2010. And wouldn't you know it, it is near Hangzhou, China. Hangzhou, China. Is that correct? Did I say that right? Yes. Okay. Anyway, so on July 7th, an unidentified flying object was spotted above Hangzhou Zhoushan International Airport. Yeah, I think I got it right. The airport was closed down due to the sighting, right? Reminds me of that one we've heard of in Chicago, right? So an investigation revealed no radar images. The purported images of the UFO were not taken near the airport and concluded that it may have been an aircraft, possibly military. Okay, so there's your conclusion, right? There's your Project Blue Book style cover-up. You know me, I want to believe. So explain to me how the CCP doesn't know that this was theirs, okay? Possibly a military aircraft? Nah, come on. It's the same stuff that we're always talking about here. We're like, well, how come our government doesn't know that, this is ours or not ours or whatever? Stop. But anyway, it's a weird synchronicity as part of this context of the conversation, because recognize, we've talked about this in the past as well, that for some level of advanced propulsion to, let's say, from somewhere Alpha Centauri or whatever, somewhere across the cosmos, it would have to be advanced propulsion to the degree of magic, teleportation, or right, something like that, wormholes, obviously, or sort of bending space-time, gravity itself. And as they've described in the past, theoretically sort of warping gravity and riding the wave of gravity to kind of beat the let's say speed limit of the universe, the speed of light. Okay, something to that degree. UFOs, again, many of the experiencer accounts and even the UFO tropes and stories of old, whether you believe these or not, that's up to you. I tend to believe people when people tell these tales because many times it is traumatizing. So I'm not one to sort of discount these things when they come from people. But again, as always, you decide. But recognize that there is a weird connection with UFOs and sort of time anomalies, like slips or time slows down, time speeds up, there's missing time. There's a whole manner of things happening as part of it, right? So we got a couple connections here right off the bat. And I was like, wait a minute now. So you're telling me that where they actually had one of the modern, maybe only one of the few modern UFO sightings in China that kind of got out from behind the CCP censorship engine, happened in the same province, the same area where they're building this massive centrifuge to kind of change time itself, at least conceptually and within the framework of a centrifuge. So I don't know, like this to me was like, okay, so first off, we got a couple things happening here. And are they doing this for that particular reason? And so think of it this way, like we talk on Troubled Minds a lot about ley lines, okay? And I was digging a little bit, and they've actually got something called dragon vein, or basically it's Chinese ley lines, right? Dragon lines, dragon tracks are a concept from feng shui. Feng shui, how do you say it? So it refers to channels of energy flowing through mountain ranges. Okay. There are underground channels of qi, or I guess that would be qi. According to some traditional religions, it is forbidden to destroy them, as this may cause negative consequences or disturbances. It has developed a metaphorical meaning of any critical infrastructure in the modern day, such as the Qinghai Tibet Railway. Again, pardon my Chinese. But okay, so you get the idea here. So not only do they have these dragon lines, dragon tracks, and sort of forbidden to disrupt or destroy them, running through mountain ranges. Well, in this particular space, we also have what is come to be known as a modern Chinese UFO hotspot, where they're also building this wild centrifuge, searching for what? Compressed time, heavy time, right? So there's a lot of stuff here, a lot of things to get into, a lot of things to talk about. Let me go back to my notes to make sure we didn't forget some. So yes, the 2010 UFO incident, we talked about that. There is a larger history, of course, of gravity manipulation research. We've heard of the Kozyrev mirror. We've talked about that. The Russian one, where they had this weird material that they wrapped in a circular space, and they were actually considering that it was able to stop the flow of time or slow the flow of time or divert it or something. It's really weird. It's a really weird thing, but this isn't deep time itself, is that what I'm calling this tonight? Yeah, heavy time. Yeah, hey, the idea is still synthesizing. But you get my point here, is that this has been something that people have been working on forever, back to, the fountain of youth and these types of things. Everybody wants to be able to control time, because once you do, it's basically godhood, okay? You're able to do anything. You're able to step outside of our timeline into some other timeline. And what does that mean? It means a lot of things. It means there's a lot of implications there, and of course the multiverse theory and all that stuff, the many worlds theory. So what does it look like? And do you think that the overall question would be this? So when I say, do you think that, this is the question tonight. Is it possible that the gravity signature of the planet you live in and the gravity forces you're subjected to in your life have a larger consequence to humans than just physical? Meaning, they say that on the full moon, right, the lunatics come out, the term lunatic, right? The police are busy and the emergency rooms fill up. What if gravity is similar? And what if being able to sort of change these gravity signatures, could it be like a therapy, for instance? Could this affect us more than we think it does? And let's say even decreasing or increasing the gravity signature of somebody for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, like a therapeutic or something, could you actually change maybe something in the mind, change something in, a stress, or I don't know. And of course, what does it look like when you start to get into the weird paranormal stuff? And the other layers would be, what happens when you can sort of manipulate time to the point where it has the breaking point between, right, the madness of humans and experimenting on them as they have always done in the past in horrific scenes and situations. We've talked about this a lot as well. Is there a space where sort of you start to draw out the consciousness of people, and maybe paranormal things start to happen, telekinesis, telepathy, this type of thing? Again, just some theories, just to kind of spitballing here, but it did dawn on me that when you're dealing with gravity itself, we know so little about it, and including, of course, what it is. I mean, there's still these weird theories about dark matter and dark energy and the gravity signatures of the cosmos itself, where it seems like things really should fit into the laws of, Newtonian physics and the gravitational stuff, but they don't. They just really don't. And so we have this magical placeholder stuff called dark matter and dark energy, because it seems like there's a lot of stuff out there we can't see that's casting off gravity. So there's a lot of questions, of course, regarding what it is. But then, of course, is it possible it actually affects our consciousness in any way whatsoever? And do you think there's a correlation here between China and a modern UFO hotspot? Let's call it that, because we don't have a lot of information out of China and UFOs, but one of the most famous sightings in modern times from 2010 is the same place, at least close enough to point your finger and go, wait a minute, is there a correlation here of why they built it in that spot? I don't know. As usual, right? You know me. No answers, just more ideas and questions as part of this. But that's the first thing that stuck out to me. We got some other stuff to get to tonight, of course. Today we're talking China's chief facility generates gravitational forces thousands of times stronger than Earth's natural pull, pushing into territory where physics meets mystery. From ancient texts describing unconsciousness or consciousness and unconscious altering chambers to modern UFO encounters suggesting advanced gravity manipulation, patterns emerge that challenge conventional understanding here on Troubled Minds, of course, which is what we're going to do. And the main question for tonight is specifically, do you think it's possible that there's something to gravity being maybe, dare we say, a part of consciousness, or affects it in a way that we never dreamed? Like, would a person, again, just as a thought experiment, if you dropped them onto Jupiter with that massive gravitational pull, would they, let's say you could, actually shield them from the squish, would their consciousness, will we spurg out? Will we be able to, be like Yoda with the Force and pick up rocks and move things around, or maybe like instantly just kind of tap into a remote view because our consciousness was then compressed with this heavy time, if you know what I'm saying here. Again, I know abstract all over the place and I'm a little bit of a mess, but it happens, right? And so in any case, what do you guys know about it? And what about, again, isn't it strange they built it in one of the, again, modern Chinese UFO hotspots? Two, is it odd that it's a sort of a gravity exploration where clearly they could put people in it and try and avoid the squish? It almost feels like in some capacity, let's say with engineering and whatnot, if they had advanced propulsion, this is how you would test ways to sort of mitigate advanced propulsion to the human system. You see what I mean? Because you could test these high Gs that are not possible on Earth and find ways to mitigate against them. So, and dare I say, and let me ask the question too regarding, let's say, reverse engineering UFOs. Wouldn't this be how you get a human pilot in one of those things, as you learn how to mitigate the Gs from the things zigging and zagging all over the place? Right. Anyway, just as an aside, I'm not sure I believe in all that stuff and, the Bob Lazar and whatnot. But again, that's a whole conversation for a whole nother time. But the question for tonight, the main one is, do you think gravity affects consciousness? And what does it look like when you start to press the Gs harder and harder, not just to the human, the squish, the obvious squish, but what about the consciousness squish? As I'm calling it, heavy time.